Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to look at We Built This City. And no, I'm not talking about the song by Starship. This is actually a board game. You can find it on the Game Crafter for about 23, 24 bucks, somewhere around there. It's for 2 to 4 players, it's for ages 12 and up, and the average play time is about 30 minutes. It's similar to Sunrise City, albeit a more simplified version. It's like Sunrise City in the sense that players will be collectively adding to one city. And based on how well they put tiles down and claim them when they do so, they'll get points. And the player with the most points at the end of the game will win. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of blow through the components here. You've got some city cards, and these city cards come in 6 different types. You've got a city hall, which is your central starting tile. Players will be building off of it throughout the game. You've got a dump tile, a park tile, you've got an industry tile, commercial tile, and a residential tile. Now, the game calls them factories, offices, and houses, but I play a lot of SimCity, so I can't help but call them industrial, commercial, and residential tiles. And I apologize if I use the term tile or card throughout the video. I'm going to be doing that. Anyway, you've got a round tracker up here. You've got a score tracker here. You've got a player guide here with regard to scoring, and I'll get to that in a minute. You've got these cubes. Each player will choose a color and get a set of cubes. You've got a white house, which is your first player marker here. You've got an instruction booklet. Pretty light reading. You've got a box, and the game did come with some baggies, which is always a plus with me, and of course you've got the box. Okay, so with regard to game setup, your game setup is not going to look like this, but I had to do it this way so I can get everything in one camera shot. You've got your round tracker up here. You're going to take the black, I forgot to mention this during the components shot, but there is a black house, that is your round tracker, and what you're going to want to do is put it on the appropriate row. There's number of players here, 2, 3, and 4. Then you've got your various rounds. So if you're playing a 2-player game, it'll start here, and then on round 1 it'll move over here, then round 2 it'll move here, and so on. If you're playing 3 players, you'll only play 3 rounds, as you can see. 4 players, you'll play 4 rounds. The number in the circle here is the number of cards a player gets at the beginning of that round. In this case, it's 6. So because it's round 1, each player gets 6 cards from this shuffle deck like that. Now, of course, you're going to want to remove the starting City Hall card first before you shuffle them up. You'll place that in the center of the table, and then players will be building off of this. Each player chooses a color and receives all of the cubes of that color. They take one of those cubes and put it next to the score tracker over here. They're going to be using that to track their score. The rest will be used to claim tiles or cards as they play them from their hand. And that's basically it. I mean, each player also gets one of these player guides with regard to scoring, but for the sake of the camera shot and everything else, I'm going to leave that out for now. Playing through a round is pretty simple. I'm going to leave the scoring for later and what the different cards do till later. Right now I just want to show you how players get through a round. Basically, they continue playing cards back and forth until they run out. That'll end the round. So this player here will go ahead and take a look at his hand. He's the first player and play one. Okay? And then he'll go ahead and put a cube on top of it to show that it was his. Now, with regard to playing cards or tiles, whatever you want to call them, you have to watch these roads here. Now, whenever you connect it to a tile with a white border like that, you don't have to worry about the roads. But when you are playing a card that is connecting 2 roads via roads, you have to match them up. So if this player here wanted to play this, he could do that because these 2 line up correctly. He could not play, say, this one, because there's a road in the middle and there's 2 on the end, so these don't line up. If you ever played like Carcassonne, it's similar to the tile placement rules there. Just make sure the roads line up. So this player might do something like this, and then he'll go ahead and put a cube on it to show that that was his. And I'm doing this with no regard to scoring, by the way. I just want to show you how this works. And then this player might play something like this. And then this player might play something like, I don't know, this. Again, maybe not a smart move, but you get the idea. And players will continue back and forth doing this until they run out of cards. Okay, so once players are done playing their tiles or cards, whatever you want to call them, again, I'm going to be using that term interchangeably, basically scoring happens. Now, this is where things get a little confusing. There's a few pages dedicated to scoring. I'll try and sum it up as quickly as I can here. Let's first go over what happens with parks and dumps. When it comes to parks, a park is worth 1 point to every card it touches. The player who places it gets 2 points. So green here placed this park, he would get 2 points. Red has a house next to this park, so this house is worth 1 point in addition to anything else that he may be around, which I'll get to in a minute. There's the dump. Any card adjacent to a dump is worth 0 points, no matter what else is next to it. Players do not get any points for playing a dump. So basically, this dump here, this is worthless, this is worthless, this is worthless, and this is worthless. So basically, the dump is a really nasty customer. You don't want to be next to that sucker. But it can be used offensively against, if your opponent has a cluster of property in one area, you could plop it down there like in a filling a donut or something and just wipe out all of his points. That would be huge, but I think you get the idea. Parks and dumps. And then you've got a rock, paper, scissors effect with the residential, industrial, and commercial zones. Houses, factories, and offices. Okay, so the way this works, points are scored based on neighboring cards. A card scores 1 point for each park, city hall, or card of the same kind bordering it, and 2 points for each of its preferred neighbors, as shown below. So, for example, this house is next to another house, so this one gets a point. This house is next to a city hall, so according to this, it also would get a point. Okay, and it's also going to take into account any other cards that might be next to it. Now, of course, this is next to a dump, so even though it's next to a house and next to the city hall, technically be worth 2 points there. But because there's a dump here, then it's negated. Let's do a different one. Maybe this industrial zone up here, this factory, is not next to a dump, so I guess we could use that. It's bordering a city hall card, so that's good. That's worth 1 point, and then it's next to a zone, which is it's another industry, so that's worth 1 point. Here's another one, that one's worth 1 point. So right now we've got 1, 2, 3 points. One for this one from this one, and one for this one. What about the house over here? Well, if we take a look at the rock, paper, scissors effect, factories get 0 points from offices, but factories get 2 points from houses. So this factory is actually worth 2 points, or it gets 2 points because it's neighboring a house. So again, you have to pay attention to this rock, paper, scissors effect. And as players resolve these points, they take their cubes off one at a time and then move their point or their cube up the tracker here, keeping track of how many points they have. And then once they're done removing all of their cubes, they start the next round. This round tracker is moved over to the next column. Players get a number of cards equal to the value shown in that column. And then they rinse and repeat. And then they play this until they are out of rounds. And then the player with the most points at the end of the game will win. Alright, so there you have it, a very brief look at We Built This City. It's important to stress that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual. This was just a brief overview, just to give you an idea as to what the game is like. For example, there are some more tile or card placement rules. In fact, a card is worth 0 points if it is not connected to the City Hall via roads. That's one example of a rule that I did not cover. So what did I think of We Built This City? Well, besides the name, just for SEO reasons, I don't see this being a good choice for a name. But I don't review games based on their SEO presence, okay? I review them based on how fun they are and what their price is and that kind of thing. In terms of the price, I think it's on track. $23, $24 is pretty good for what you're getting here. This is a very light version of Sunrise City. I've said that before, I'll say it again. In Sunrise City, you had player rules. Each player would have different rules and special abilities they can play. Sunrise City has bidding. This game has none of that. There are no special abilities like with player rules. There's no bidding involved. You put a tile down, you claim it. That's it. If you like Sunrise City, but you don't have the hour or hour and a half to play the game, and you do want to get your city builder fix in, then I think We Built This City is an excellent choice. The cards are well done, they're colorful, they're easy to read, And the game is very simple too for a city builder. Like if you're playing Suburbia, you're constant, like by the end of the game, you're looking at all the tiles going, oh my god, how does this one affect this one again? Okay, well I have 3 factories here, so that means that this one is what this is, and then you've got these tiles over here, and then oh my god, how do I add all these up? You don't have to do that here. It's much simpler. So I would call this like a light city builder game, and I'm kind of glad because all of the city builders I tend to run into nowadays are heavy. Suburbia is pretty heavy for me. Sunrise City is moderate to heavy. This one is light. So I think this is an excellent, I'm sorry, there's a dog barking outside. My neighbors always have the damn dog out. But anyway, I love dogs, don't get me wrong, but you don't leave them outside, you know, all day long. Anyway, we built this city. Excellent game. If you guys want to see the full review, you can on my official website, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already, subscribed to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date with any new content I plan to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.